My name is Thigo. I come from Nairobi, Kenya. I work for an organization. It's sort of strategically positioned between civil society and a technology initiative. And the idea about it is to sort of be an intermediary, because technology is a new field, and that in this day and age we think that technology has a critical role in improving development outcomes. So what my organization does is strengthen civil society, citizens and government in the strategic use of technology. And for us, I think strategic use of technologies in the context of technology really are just tools, and they don't basically necessarily solve everything. So I think ideally for us is ideally how do we best use technology, how do we best develop strategy, and how do we best inform decisions around technology deployment and use of technology by organizations. I think for us also, because it is a new field, then it becomes quite critical to the extent that we need to build capacities around use and deployment of technology, because I think that then drives into the sustainability of it. So I think my vision particularly is to the extent that citizens will be able to use technology on their own without external help. Government will be able to have capacities around how they use it to the extent of how they actually deliver services to citizens. And civil society will transform their role in how they engage between state and citizens. So I think for us is how does technology become an enhancer of the ecosystem around how citizens, civil society and government engage. I think for us, we actually look at civil society as the only organized space within which citizens can act collectively. So it doesn't, any space that citizens act collectively for us is civil society. So it's teachers unions, it's churches, it's your traditional provincial or NGOs or community-based organizations, media, but also interest groups, people who just come together for a cause. So I think that's how we perceive civil society. South Sudan is in more ways than one is a new country, so they're not undoing anything, and that is why I see the potential. A lot of us are really undoing all norms, all cultures around how services are perceived, how government engage with citizens, how civil society engage with citizens. So there's a lot of an undoing per se, and I think undoing takes more work than actually doing new things. So, and that is what I see the potential of open in South Sudan. And secondly, I think the very much openness in the way that they interact. They're searching, they're questioning, they're looking out, and they're seeing what works or what doesn't work. And they're very eager to adapt, I think, within their own context. The other potential I see with open is the sort of how just they engage, in the sense that how they really understand their country, and how there's a sort of eagerness to make things work. So for me, I see this as beyond a potential, but also I think it could be a beacon of perhaps what the conference is saying, the first kind of open city or open space in Africa that is truly new and that has been defined within a sort of a community of practice. Specifically, I see the biggest challenge, I think, is years and ravages of war. I think that is one, and that comes with complications. So that the complications of infrastructure, I see that a lot, because where innovation and openness or open data, open governance has gone through is where it leverages already on existing infrastructure. So you don't, for example, in Kenya, we don't need to create a telecoms infrastructure because there's already private sector penetration. All we do is leverage on that service, and that is what I see a potential kind of threat and challenge. So if there's a massive sort of investment around potential infrastructure, then it opens up possibilities. It opens up possibilities and potentials for expansion of or for open government initiatives. In South Sudan, as much as Kenya, and this is quite interesting, that we've actually realized that in countries where citizens highly depend on government for service delivery,